In today's video, we're going to be showing you one of the most important rook endgames in chess. And the idea here is that it's a rook and a pawn versus a rook. King and rook versus king, rook, and pawn. So the idea is we want to promote our pawn and potentially use it to trade off for their rook so that we can play king and rook versus king, which is an easy checkmate. So here we have the optimal situation where the pawn is on the 7th rank, the king is on the 8th rank, our rook is somewhere on the backside, and essentially it's white to move. So here we have rook g1 check, and now the king is forced to either the edge of the board or to f6. They're obviously not going to block with their rook. That would just be GG. So here, king f6, right? We're going to take a look at this variation. After the king comes to f6, there's an easy way to win this, which is king f8. King f8, creating this sort of an opposition here where they can't take your pawn because you're defending it, and they can't give a check because you would promote to block the check. So even if they come behind, again, you would promote to block the check. This is too easy for white to win. So king f6 is completely ruled out. It's not a good variation. After rook anywhere they put their rook, you're going to promote, right? There's nothing they can do about it. Rook a7, rook a8, rook e2. They can't stop you from promoting the pawn. So here we're going to go back and we're going to try something else. So after rook g1 check, there's these three king moves. If the king goes to h8, we can simply bring the rook up to g5, right? Two squares between the king and the rook so that the king can't immediately attack the rook, right? So after the rook comes up to g5, if they try to give you a check, again, you have that same idea of king coming to f7. And then if they try to pin you here, you would come here, and then they can't give you a check. They can't take the pawn because you would take. And essentially, if they give you a check here, you're going to promote to block the check, and that's too easy again. So what they actually try to do usually is they try to come behind, right? So here, after rook g5, they're going to try to come behind the pawn with like rook e2, rook d2, rook f2, these kinds of ideas. Of course, here, rook e2 is the most optimal try for black, because if you go to d7, they're going to check you this way. If you come to f7, they're going to check you this way. And the optimal way to win this for white is to play king f7 anyway. And now after rook f2 check, king will come up to e6. They have no way to get to touch the pawn, right? They're too slow to get back to stop the pawn. They can't go there because it's protected by the pawn. And so now if they give you a check on e2, you simply build a bridge. This is our bridge where the king defends the rook, and the rook is behind the path of the pawn is going to promote, and the king is too far away to catch the pawn. So this is the winning idea, and after rook takes rook, king here, we promote. That's an easy win. So your job is done there. Now we're going to look at some of the other variations with the king. So here, there's king h7. So when they go to h7, you're going to do the same idea that we just did, except now you have to put the rook on g4. Again, 2 squares away from where the enemy king is, so that the king can't immediately attack your rook. So now, if they try the same idea, the same defensive idea, rook e2, now you can bring the king out to f7. So by bringing the king out to f7, if they give you the check on f2, you bring the king up to e6, they give you the check on e2 again. You can't go to f5, that would drop the pawn. You have to go to f6 first, creating a kind of a zigzag, right? So now when they give you the check on f2, you complete the zigzag. Now when they come back to e2 to check you, you again build the bridge. The king is too far away to stop the pawn. After rook takes, king takes, simply going to promote the pawn again, winning endgame. So there's one more variation here, and this variation is a little bit different. In this variation, they bring the king to h6. And now by bringing the king to h6, you can simply bring your king out to essentially f7 or f8, right? Because now you're not going to be building this bridge here with the rook here, because the king is too close. It'll touch your rook, and the rook will have to move around. So the idea here is actually king f8, and now when they give you a check on f2, you can move the king to g8. And the reason why this works is because the king went to h6, so that opened up this square for your king. And now if they go to e2, you have this nice idea of rook g7, defending the pawn, preventing the king from having any good ways to get in. And essentially, there's nothing for them to do. because if they come this way, you would promote the pawn. If they come this way, you would promote the pawn. And if they stay on the file, right, which is the most logical idea for black, after rook e3, you have king f8. And after king f8, if they bring the rook over to give you a check, you can simply block the check. They can't move the king because they would lose the rook and allow you to promote. And now, if they come back, again, you're just going to promote. Rook takes, king and rook versus king. Easy endgame. That's it for this video. We hope you've been able to understand the Lucena position. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching the video.